I am really delighted to be here on the 10th anniversary of the marathon, to be starting the proceedings of what will be an extraordinary day. The marathon series was conceived by my colleague and co-director Hans-Ulrich Obrist in 2006, the year of his arrival at the Serpentine, and is an integral part of programming at the Serpentine Galleries. The marathon series provides us with the opportunity to bring together some of the world's most extraordinary people, irrespective of the discipline in which they work, to discuss a matter of importance, not only to the arts, but to the world at large. Previous editions have invited artists, writers, philosophers, scientists, musicians, theorists, I'm going to wear my glasses. Theorists, mathematicians, filmmakers, and many other influential and inspirational figures to tackle the subjects of interview, experiment, manifesto, poetry, map, garden, memory, the post-89 generation, and extinction. The last issue, Extinction, has an air of finality about it that this year's 10th edition of the marathon will seek to dispel. We are delighted to be able to gather here in this beautiful setting with so many brilliant minds, their perspective on a subject that encompasses every living and non-living object. The word's meaning, trans, which means to go through or beyond a form, is relevant to literally everything. There is no part of our world that stands still. On the subject of movement, I wanted to mention an inspiration of mine and a touchstone of my thought on transformation, the great dancer and choreographer Pina Bausch. It is perhaps a little-known part of my resume, my brief dancing career, which came to a peak when I first danced with Pina Bausch. Her work remains, for me, one of the greatest examples of the transformative power of art. What better topic for this 10th marathon, then, than a topic that touches everything and everybody in spite of their race, color, or creed? Today, we're talking about the epic and the everyday, from the infinitesimal small level of the subatomic to the grandest thing we can imagine, a galaxy, perhaps, or, as Vladimir Nabokov would have it, love. The marathon format is equally wide-ranging, designed to encourage the cross-pollination of ideas and to reflect the dynamism and vitality of 21st century thought. That is in keeping with the mission of the Serpentine Galleries, which has, throughout its 45-year history, sought to create an environment in which radical new ideas can be exchanged and developed. It seems appropriate that this landmark edition of the marathon should address the subject of transformation. It is extraordinary to think that this ambitious endeavor, which when it began was unlike anything else to have been attempted in an institutional context, should now be in its 10th incarnation. It is part of human nature to stop for a moment at such milestones and look back to the past and what has been achieved, and also forward to the future and what remains to do. So I would like to take a moment to look back briefly to the first incarnation of this unique event. The interview marathon was dreamt up as a one-off event, a means of bringing together a wider audience to the extraordinary and wide-ranging conversations that are such a feature of Hans Ulrich's curatorial practice, and indeed of his very character. Its amazing success, both in terms of its popularity and number of artistic collaborations that arose from it, convinced us all at the Serpentine Galleries to reprise the event the following year. Since then, the marathon has turned its attention to a wide array of subjects, in many cases setting the agenda for critical discussion in the arts. The 2013 edition of the marathon was a notable example of this phenomenon, with the identification of the post-1989 generation as a pivotal one in the way we understand the world. We come full circle this year with a return to the 24-hour format of the very first edition. The second leg of this year's marathon takes place on the first ever broadcast of Serpentine Radio, accessible online from midnight to night. We are proud, too, that the marathon will reach new audiences via the partners who are streaming the film of the marathon at their institutions: Bath School of Art and Design, Birmingham School of Art, Glasgow School of Art, the Royal College of Art, the University of Edinburgh, the University of Leeds, the University of Leicester, and the University of Reading. Transformation is a process that turns the past into the future, that separates us from that separates what once was from what is yet to be. So let us now look forward to this year's assembly of minds and reflect on what we hope to achieve. The Transformation Marathon will address cultural, political, physical shifts to consider how it might be possible to effect significant change today. We are delighted to welcome our distinguished contributors to the Serpentine Sackler Gallery, itself a monument to transformation. Designed by Zaha Hadid, the social and exhibition spaces of this building, with its sympathetic and revolutionary renovation of an historic edifice, embody many of the positive elements of the transformation process. Transformation, this process of change and renewal, is a distinguishing characteristic of the human condition. As bodies in time, we are subject to change, and that change is inevitable and irreversible. We are at every moment being transformed. Cells within our bodies die and are replaced by others. In common with every other feature of fleeting human experience, transformation has its light and dark sides. We come from nothing and return to nothing via a series of transformations. For every positive example of transformation, and we might conceive of the evolutionary process as the very epitome of that principle, there is a counterexample, such as the malignant transformation of cells. It is up to us whether we choose to embrace change or attempt to resist it. Resistance, we might say, is futile. That the world is always being transformed is a fact beyond our control. As Heraclitus understood, we can never step into the same river twice. Nevertheless, it seems to me that the creative impulse, the spark in someone that compels them to look at things anew, is inseparable from a firm faith that we as humans can shape the transformation of our world. This marathon hopes to build on connections between those working in the arts and those in the wider culture, who share that commitment to changing the way we live. The combination of disciplines that is the marathon's defining characteristic will create a forum for the exchange of ideas. The people gathered here for this marathon, while exceptionally varied in their fields of inquiry, their personal experiences, and their convictions, are united by their commitment to the possibility of transforming one's own self, one's society, the world for better. To create is to transform, to reshape material, to rewrite ideas, to reform the way we think and see. The principle of transformation, which we might twin with creative action, threads through every discipline to which humanity applies itself. The extraordinary multivalence of the world, with applications in literature, linguistics, physics, mathematics, logic, theatre, mechanics, and of course biology, is testament to the centrality of the concept to human experience and to human endeavour. Whether personal, political, or social, we must never lose sight of the fact that transformation is irreversible. Once the process has begun, we cannot revert to our former state. To transform something is, in some sense, to make it new. Metamorphosis in nature, in painting, in literature, is at once frightening and liberating. We, as humans, are defined by our capacity to imagine the world differently, and then to take steps to effect that change. We imagine our future selves, our future societies, our future technologies, and devote our lives to achieving them. These transformations are the catalysts of progress. In the process of transformation, a single substance crosses a threshold from one state into another, the same energy taking a different form. Transformation is, in this respect, characterized by movement, by dynamism, by, as the world's etymology suggests, a change of form rather than material. As sound is transformed into music by pattern, and stone transformed into sculpture by shape, so transformation helps us to shape the world into something new. Nothing is exempt from transformation, which can make over even that seems most entrenched. We are reminded that even the most intractable issues, the basic systems according to which our society is organized, the most persistent prejudices, are neither permanent nor impossible to resolve. In this respect, transformation is a thing of wonder. It strikes out from the mundane, the routine, the inevitable, to remind us of the possibility of total and radical change. To have faith in transformation means that despair can be held at bay, because it promises the possibility of change. Everything, delight and desperation, both, are contingent. Anything can be altered. Transformation is the mediator between what we have lost and what we have gained, the process that converts the past into the future. In this respect, the Transformation Marathon seems like a fitting successor to the Extinction Marathon. The human condition is to transform and to be transformed. In transformation is a promise of the future, and it is that which we are here to consider and celebrate today. Before we celebrate, we must give thanks to everyone who has made this year's event possible. We are extremely grateful to AIRD, especially Esperanza Corrin, for the absolutely essential support that they have provided for this year's marathon, without whom it would not have happened. We must extend that gratitude to the Lars Windhorst Foundation, the Hayden Family Foundation, and DLD, especially Steffi Czerny, as well as all those of our generous donors who wish to remain anonymous. Our media and technology partners are Google Cultural Institute and YouTube, and we are ever grateful that they have made the live stream of the event possible. The radio broadcast that will take us through to the conclusion of our 24-hour cycle is a collaboration with the Goethe Institute, London, and we are thankful to them for what has been a truly inspiring adventure. Our advisors, our many advisors, on whom we are dependent, are ACOM and WILE, and we also rely upon the tremendous commitment of the Council of the Serpentine Galleries, an extraordinary group of individuals who make what we do possible. Our long-standing supporters are Arts Council England, who share our belief in producing the most inspirational and ambitious programs. This speech, like this event, would not be complete without the work of our extraordinary team here at the Serpentine. It is with great pride and pleasure that I thank Lucia Petriusti, Public Programs Curator, Claudia Gill, Assistant Curator, Ben Vickers, Curator of Digital, the curatorial assistants Chris Bailey, Taylor Lamele, Sophie Oxenbridge, Corey Scassari, and Nefeli Skarma. Production managers Ian Pate, Kamal Akari, stage managers Linda Petacopa, Rachel Stringer, Rudy Tomes, and Fergus Daly. Radio Serpentine producer Tabitha Torlu Bagura, and website builder Kai Krutler. Graphic designers folder, especially Marco Ferrari and Alice Longo, live blogger Elvia Wilk, researchers John Joseph Constable, Ben Eastham, Rose Dempsey, Head of Communications, Miles Evans, Head of Media Relations, Julie Bennell, Head of Buildings and Projects, and many advisors. And, in principle, my thanks are to my colleague, friend, and co-director, Hans-Ulrich Obrist, an exceptional person and a visionary. Today, we are privileged to witness the extraordinary contributions to a vital debate of many of today's most interesting minds. We will be joined by contributors, including mathematicians, writers, artists, designers, thinkers, and even the late Heiner Müller, one of the greatest dramatists and poets of the last 100 years, a man who pioneered the idea of using other playwrights' and poets' texts as raw material for his own dramatic works. Last year, I dedicated the marathon to that most strange and beautiful symbol of the struggle against extinction, the armor-plated pangolin. This year, I want to dedicate the marathon to us all, and to the possibility of recovery, rebirth, and revival, promised by the process of transformation. Thank you very much.